Hello, hello. 5 minutes after 10. Where's Carrie at? Is he here today? I didn't see him on. Oh, there you are, Carrie. Hello, Les. Joel's here. Hello, Todd. Adam. Thanks for the support, Adam. Appreciate it. Hello, Amy. Hope all's well, Amy. All right. Thanks for all your chiming in there on the snow report this morning. We will talk about that. And obviously what's coming our way for tonight into parts of Saturday. And then as we get into the long range as well. I got new long range data. Travis, I saw you saw some of it as well on your comment. We will discuss some of that coming up in a second. As always, you guys can comment on the social media side. Twitch is also an option for you all. In fact, you see the comments that we share here on Twitch as well. So Twitch is one of the good spots to see some of the interaction that we have with you guys. If you're a gamer, and some of you are that are out there, but even if you're not, you have options for X as well as Facebook and on YouTube, which YouTube's pretty big. You get that notification that we're about to go on. So that's where you have a chance to chime in, ask your questions. Now, I see everything on one screen, just so you guys know, and it's all one thing. So it's YouTube, Twitch, everything comes in one slate. So, and the font is really, really small, and I'm getting old. So I apologize if I can't see your comment right away or get your name wrong. So forgive me on that. But I see a lot of your comments now flying in about snow and looking forward to everything. And you're just saying hello. Michelle's saying hello, hello, hello. Hope you're doing well. Hello, Dave and Jean. Been around a long time with us, right? Hope you guys are doing well as well. Austin down in Sonora. I always stopped in Sonora to get gas on my way to Western. That was always my spot to fill up my tank. Was at that exit there in Sonora. Come on, spring. No more winter, Ashley says. Well, it's going to be a bit. It's going to be a bit. Make the font bigger. Can't do that technically on here. It's hard to explain. But trust me, we're working on a solution on that. But you hear us complain about it. Everybody, I think it does a stream is on here like, oh, man, I can't read anything. That's normal. We're working on it. All right. But on a serious note, we got a lot to cover here, guys. So I don't want to waste your time. So let's get right into the snowboard. We'll start with that, and then we'll kind of backtrack into the current setup. For tonight, snow showers and squalls will be an issue for part of the area. I'll highlight where. Then we get into next Thursday. A brief mix is showing up. It keeps coming in and going away. For now, it looks brief. If the system were to slow down, that may trend toward a little bit more of an issue. But right now, I'm thinking it's going to be fast. But it's interesting that it's anytime you see a model kind of flip back and forth on the speed of a certain wave and enhances it, but it loses it, then it comes back again. You got to pay attention. It's trying to tell you something that there's a speed issue going on, or there's a timing issue going on with the flow upstream. And you got to look into Canada at that point and see what's going on. Why is it not on track? Why does it keep fluctuating? So you got to do like an investigative CSI kind of stuff. So anyway, we're working at looking at that on for next Thursday, keeping an eye on it. Otherwise, we get into next weekend. Everyone's fully aware of that. All right, we'll talk about that briefly and then get into another one. I've added now the 28th into the last day of January back onto the board. So there you go. A lot of stuff coming our way. All right, guys. Hey, Travis. Hope all is well. Cousin Travis is on here. Okay, so let's get right into the setup outside. Clouds have moved in. They're can be broken at times. In other words, you can get a few little peaks of sun that may try to get some through some of this, but overall fairly overcast. As we are now into the warm sector of a storm system coming our way, the warm front passed through. We're at the freezing mark in Louisville, 37 in Evansville, still 27 as you head toward Cincinnati area. So the warming flow is now taking place. That's going to be absolutely crucial on what in the world is going to happen for this evening. All right, let me go back. This is the radar from last night and this morning. We, of course, are watching the light snow to see what impacts we would have from that. As we mentioned, only a light amount would cause a problem. It was very, very light. It did snow. Technically in Louisville, I got the time of 5:35 to 6:05 a.m. is when snow was reported in the area, but it was light, so we didn't even get to the dusting part. But that was a concern. If we did get to the dusting part, it would be slick. So we lucked out, but the fact that the dry air ate up a lot of this, not exactly surprising either, because as we talked about yesterday, that was one of the bigger concerns we had here, as it can be a big bust potential. But always in this scenario, it's not a problem to err on the side of caution. And you got treatment on the roads, which is, especially brine, is very relatively inexpensive. So that allows it to be a good solution to solve a problem that could be bigger. So anyway, that's now moving out. Let's get rid of that. That's a minor thing. I don't want to talk about it to death because there's been too much attention on it as there is. So what's next? Well, this is our next wave. This is going to be the moisture that's going to kind of build into Kentucky and Indiana this afternoon. This will enhance. Once the trough heads a little bit more to the east, it will enhance right at the point where it gets into the mountains there into eastern Kentucky. And it's that enhancing part, and the wind ramps up and temperatures begin to drop, that everything is happening at one time. But it all has to line up just right to get perhaps a boom. And we use that in a sense of bust or boom in snow forecast. Either you can bust it and nothing happens, or you get a boom and you get more than expected. Overachiever. A lot of you love that. You love the overachievers. Well, I'm a snow lover. I know that. I love that too. I always did as a kid, right? You love when the forecast went wrong, if you will. In this scenario, to get some of the higher totals, you've got to have everything really line up here. But it is possible. I'm not saying it's not. And the data is certainly still hinting at how this could evolve for this afternoon and evening. But the travel impacts will be a bit different here, because this morning we've got, frozen roads. We're at the freezing mark now. Everything's just cold, right? The cold ground. And that cold layer will hold. The first 3 or 4 inches off the ground can actually stay below freezing, while we measure temperature higher up. Several meters up off the ground is where we actually measure the temperature officially for the city. But the ground does stay colder for a bit longer. That should warm as the day wears on. The ground has a bit of a lag to it. It takes a while to get cold, and it takes a while to warm back up. So this is such a flip, again, like a spatula here, of going from very cold air, flipping it over to warm, and then flipping back over again to cold in about a 12 to 18 hour period. So usually when you have something like that happen, something goes wrong. Again, it doesn't go exactly right, and the models are struggling with this, and that's not a surprise, because again, this is a setup where 1 degree or a very heavy rain shower makes a big difference on how this will play out in your area. So let me stop rambling. Let me get right into some of the nitty gritty here. First off, we got the warming flow. You'll see temperatures hopefully populate. There they are. You see that warmer injection into the system. Again, this is the warm sector that we talk about usually with thunderstorms, but this is so cold. This is all snow for now, but we're going to continue to warm. We're going to get about 40, and at that point, it's going to be rain that will break out. It'll be rapid, and this is what's frustrating about any forecast, whether it's rain or snow, is when you have something that develops over you. You have to heavily rely on nowcasting and some of the short range data on models, because you're not tracking a band of snow that's coming toward you. That's easy. That's my favorite. In this situation, it is going to just pop right over us, and that is going to lead to some timing issues. Timing may be off a bit because the models don't always get that exactly right, and the finer details will matter too on placement. But in general, if you are near 65 and certainly I-75, you're in the spot that we're going to be watching carefully for a bit of a wintry mess, to be honest, as we head into later on this afternoon, evening. We're also keeping on the wind, because that's going to be ramping up. You may notice it's been breezy out, not excessive as far as the speeds, but you can tell that the warm front is doing its thing right now and trying to warm us up. You see these gusts here over 20 miles per hour. We'll see gusts close to 30 at times, trying to push in ahead of this boundary. And as we get into the wintry setup, the wind is going to ramp up. No winter weather advisory for tonight. There are advisories out in the Midwest, and obviously for the higher elevations there as you head into parts of the Poconos into the Appalachians. But for us, an advisory is possible. Jackson, I think, will issue something. Jackson Weather Office. Louisville may. And it's going to be odd because temperatures are going to be real close to the freezing mark when the majority of when the snow will happen, maybe even a touch above it. So as far as road conditions go, it is going to be either wet or slushy. I don't see iced and snow-covered roads in this scenario. Now, if you get into Eastern Kentucky, a little higher elevation, yes, I think that may be a problem. But for our counties within wave country, and I'll highlight that in a second, it's going to be more of a slushy setup than icy. Slush is still slick, don't get me wrong. So we've been debating, okay, how do we handle this? How do we handle this? Do we want to do an alert day for slush that comes into play tonight? Technically, we wouldn't do that. But there's also another added factor here, and that is going to be the wind and low visibility. Again, these can be potentially some snow squalls tonight. So this is not a light snow type of setup. When you get a snow burst out of this setup tonight, I'm talking bigger flakes, big flakes, and coming down very hard. So visibility, that will just absolutely mess up on traffic because everyone automatically is going to slow down. At least I hope you do. So you end up with slower traffic, and then everything just kind of builds, and it just gets to be a bit of a mess. Same as we deal with heavy rain and downpours at rush hour. Kind of the same idea, but in this case, it's bigger flakes that are coming down. So the messaging we're trying to get across to you guys is that travel is easy to do here. You can get around, but there will be some delays and there will be some impacts, and it will be messy. If you're not really good at driving in poor conditions like that, where you got big flakes coming down or even heavy rain, you have trouble seeing and that kind of setup. This is not the kind of weather you want to be out in this evening. It's going to be just messy. If you can handle it well, or you have to travel, there's nothing here that's going to stop you from getting to where you need to go. You will get there. Just take it slow. Does that make sense? Type 3, if you understand that. And Brad, I see your question. Will the slush freeze? In some cases, yes, and in some cases, no. And I'll explain why here in just a second. All right. So one of the things, let me show you the our in-house model. I think that's probably the fair way to do this. I mean, there's a million models here, but they're all a little different, but I think the story is the same. So let me get to that. You see at 12:30, it's got us already jump into close to 40. Even hence, the sun may try to come out. If the sun does come out in our central counties, by the way, your wind gusts could go up to 35, maybe 38 miles per hour. So the wind could get strong if you go partly cloudy. If you stay overcast, roughly 20, 25. All right. Anyway, I just want to mention that. As this moves in this evening, again, the afternoon here is going to be relatively quiet. We get past 3, 4 o'clock. Suddenly, this band of rain that moves in is not going to stay rain very long because it's going to have pockets of heavy rain. It is cold still above our head. So as the heavy rain takes place, it brings down the colder air. You automatically then change everything over rapidly to snow. And it will depend on how heavy the rain is. If you have a very light rain in your county, it may not be enough to pull down the cold air and switch the raindrops out your window to snowflakes. So you may end up with just a light rain. That's part of the bust potential of the forecast. For other areas that end up with more pockets of heavier rainfall, it won't take long, and you'll see it you'll look out the window and you'll see it just quickly go over to big flakes and moderate to even heavy snowfall. That, again, will be the boom part of the forecast. So where will all that be? I can tell you right now the trend is really supporting the first areas that would likely see this is going to be along 71 into Louisville and perhaps into around Lexington as well. Not so yet on those of you around Greene, Taylor, Marion County. I think you'll be a bit delayed, but I do see it coming toward you as the evening progresses. I think the first spot will be the 71 corridor near Louisville. But at that point, look at the temperature, 36. It can snow at 36. It can snow at 45, guys. And then it can rain at 17. The atmosphere is a very complex thing to deal with. In this case, at 36, obviously, it's going to have a tough time accumulating. A lot of it's going to be just lost on melting. So at that point, it's all about visibility in the roadways, not really as much. And slush, too. If it's heavy enough, when it's falling at a rate that could get close to maybe, I would say, the eighth of an inch to an inch, close to an inch per hour rate can develop, and some gusty winds that can overwhelm a warm ground even at 36. And then suddenly you will see everything accumulate, cars, grassy areas, get slush in the roads. But as soon as it eases back and dials back in intensity, it immediately melts. And we're going to see that trend. We're going to see cameras show the ground get covered in snow, and then the next time we look at the camera, it'll be gone. And it'll be this back and forth idea. That makes it really tough, because what you're looking at on a lot of you model watchers out there, you're looking at snow forecasts that are indicating snowfall amounts that you will get, snowfall. But it doesn't, you're not looking at the right one, though. You want to look at snow depth, because you guys know, for snow lovers, you want to know how much is going to be out there in your yard and stay out in your yard so you can enjoy it, right? This is going to be a tough snow to keep around. You'll get it at times, and then it'll go away. So a snowfall forecast is tough, because you may get 2, maybe 3 inches, but you may not have that by midnight. You may briefly be able to measure that, but then it'll be compacting down or gone. I hope that makes sense. And that's one of the challenges we got in trying to explain this, is that it will be a very much a back and forth type of setup. But I think the biggest issue here, and why we're going to go with an alert day for this evening, is just travel impacts, with it being messy and slow traffic, not so much iced over roads. Okay, so we're erring on the side of caution again. I know it's a Friday night, not typically a very busy night. A lot of you kind of either stay in and watch movies, whatever the case may be. But if you do have to venture out, you got dinner plans, again, you can get out. This is not one that's going to trap you, but it will be messy out there. Okay, so that's the plan till about 7. Let's advance this. Here we go. And this is the point where I think you're going to get in Marion County, Washington. You get into mid to late evening. I think at that point you're going to get your boom that will take place. And in Louisville, it's already coming to an end. So Louisville roughly will be about maybe 4 or 5 o'clock. We will start this mess, and then we will see the steadiness come to an end before we get to the 11 o'clock news. After that, we're not entirely done with the snow. It is very off and on. But to get to Brad's question about, well, okay, what about all that snow and slush? Is that going to freeze up? Well, the trend I've noticed here is that the air is getting colder tonight, but it's struggling to get below freezing in a dramatic fashion. We may get right at that mark, maybe 31, not exactly enough to freeze things up. You want to see numbers a little closer to 28 or lower when you start talking about icing up the roads. We don't see that now, because even now the trend on Saturday is to keep temperatures either at or even above freezing, maybe in the mid-30s. So that's going to complicate the forecast for Saturday. We're going to get more snow showers, but they too may have a melting issue. It's not really into Saturday evening that we then see the surge of cold air. We drop down to 22. So I'm more concerned about icy roads or icy patches Saturday evening into early Sunday that will develop. That has the greatest potential as far as ice. Until then, it's mainly a visibility and slush type of setup. Okay, so we get into Sunday. Gusty winds, by the way, will come out and play on Sunday. There could be a few flurries later in the day of this next wave. It's dry, kind of like this morning, so it may struggle. But no doubt, one of the bigger issues is going to be cold. All right, snow squalls. You guys have heard about this several times. That's one of the issues we'll be tracking tonight. We are seeing a surge of wind. I don't know if this maybe let me bring this full screen for you all. We are seeing a surge of wind over 30, maybe up to 40 miles per hour, right along Lexington, down toward Gravel Switch, heading toward Columbia, Kentucky. So really south and east of Louisville. If that wind does indeed materialize, that is one of the factors that will come into play that could allow for a snow squall to take place. And a squall is basically just very, very low visibility because of the wind blowing the flakes around and a heavy snowfall. And you can easily cause accumulations and that slush to build up on the roadways and make it slick briefly. Those are very isolated when they happen, but boy, they can catch you off guard if you're not ready for it. Again, that's the main spot I'm watching to see if they are going to develop. It will likely be there, south and east of Louisville right now. Another way we can track that is looking at visibility. And I know this may be hard to read. Here's Louisville right here. You see a drop in visibility with the snow showers over Louisville this evening. And then you see the drop that starts to develop, maybe even going less than a mile there into areas, parts of bluegrass, part of Kentucky, into the parkways. There is a drop there. So that we're getting hints that there will be some squalls and a low visibility issue here as we get into this evening. That will be very much off and on. It's not going to be constant. Okay, so let me show you our snowfall map. And we're going to go with most areas probably will be a less than an inch. This is snowfall, okay? So I'm going to try to be fair and say you can get an inch or two out of the burst of snow this evening. You could go up to maybe 3, 4, maybe a stretch, but up to 3. And our eastern counties here, Washington down into Adair, into the Lexington area, we're watching that. This is snowfall. I don't think you're going to have this amount, though, on the ground as you get into Saturday. Some of this will be lost, but at least we'll mention the snowfall amount. Fair? So not a big snow, but it may feel like it, if that makes sense when it's happening. It may feel like something's going wrong here when you look out the window, like, wow, this is like coming down hard outside, and everything's getting covered. We're going to see that tonight. Not everywhere, but there will be reports of that. And our job is to track it and let you know where it's going to be next, because typically when we see it start happening in one area, we know downstream it's coming your way, so we can give you a heads up. So pay attention to the Wave Weather app. As we get an idea of how this will evolve this evening, we'll be notifying everyone down the line. There's no doubt if you're in Indiana, we're not seeing this strong signal for a big problem here with squalls compared to the Kentucky side of the river. So if you're in Indiana, you'll get some bursts of snow showers, but the intensity right now does not look to be as heavy enough as Kentucky will have, and intensity or rate-driven type of precipitation is significant in this situation to get some of these higher totals to come in. What questions do you got? Let's see. Gary, how far is the temperature? It's roughly about 10 meters. 10 meters that we go up just off the ground. Some people have their home thermometers real low to the ground. You kind of want to have it up. I think in the weather garden, I don't know if it's 10 meters, not in the weather garden. It's on our tower outside, but it's certainly above my head. But it's tough in Arctic air situations because the ground temps are a lot different. And sometimes you can feel it when you walk outside and you get these Arctic blasts. Just step down and put your hand down toward the ground, and you'll feel the real cold air right there. It almost feels like a draft coming in under the door in the house or something, but then it's not as bad as you get a little higher up. So that's the reason why sometimes the snow sticks around on the ground a little longer, even when you're above freezing, because it takes a while for the ground to thaw. But anyway, that's just a side note, not necessarily what I'm talking about for tonight. Hey, Jordan, I hope you're doing well. This feels like a minimal event in Louisville tonight. My weather gut feeling is usually decent. Yeah, I think minimal is fair because, again, temperature is going to be on our side here. This will help us out. And if we were in the 20s with this tonight, this would be a different ball game. This would be a winter storm for tonight if we were colder. Temperature matters. If we were just a little bit colder. I know you're going to say, what about it? Could we get colder than expected? I doubt it. Warm air scenarios like this, we'll call it warm air advection, tends to overwhelm our atmosphere locally, and we're already seeing that happening, so I think we're on track for that. So not seeing that. I think the issue on the Buster Boom is going to be rate tonight. How heavy is the precipitation? If it's light, I'm telling you, you're going to have a tough time going to snow. If it's heavy, you're going to have a nice little pretty show out your window. It's just very tough to get to. Okay, Chris, you just asked that question. All right, good. Yeah, Carrie, we technically go by 10 meters to really keep track on temperatures in the atmosphere. It's measured many times lower than that we have. So it kind of varies on elevation. That matters too. Speaking of winter storm this weekend, next weekend. Okay, yeah, we'll come to that. We'll get to that. Terry, for Greene County, yeah, you're in a good spot there in Greene County. You may get a nice little a thumping of snow in Greene County, briefly anyway. a bit delayed. I think Louisville and 71 will be first this afternoon, roughly 4 or 5 o'clock through 8. And then I think our southeast counties, where you see the darker blue there, once you get south and east of Bardstown, that will be a bit delayed, probably mid-evening, and continuing to about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, somewhere around there. All right. Easy peasy, all right? I hope so. Stay tuned. We'll fine-tune this throughout the day. I don't want to dredge on this too long. Otherwise, the big story this weekend is the cold. As that drop happens on Saturday, we just settle into a below freezing period. It's going to last a few days. And the wind chills will be in the single digits, if not even below zero at times. And if you were to hold on to some of the snow that happens tonight and tomorrow, some of you probably will. And if you do, then your numbers in the outlook will be lower than what you're likely seeing in the forecast. We'll try to keep up with that on your area on the app as we evolve through the weekend. So keep in mind that if you get snow on the ground, we'll be adjusting those downward. So very cold weekend. And in many cases, a drip your pipes type of weekend too, just FYI. Okay, so we get into next week, and we start to see that wave around Wednesday and Thursday. I think that will kick the wind up as the breeze is on by. But this wave, as it comes by, this is where we need to figure out the speed of this. Euro, a little more aggressive in this, trying to dig. If this can slow down, this could be a little more of an impressive wave. Other models are not as excited about this, but it is interesting because we are in a blocking pattern. So it wouldn't surprise me that this may be a sneaky little thing here to watch for Wednesday and Thursday. So that's why it's on the snowboard. We'll monitor that. Right now, we'll bet on the faster speed. I'm pushing it along. That then sets the stage. It's an important piece because it allows for the colder air to really get established more in the Midwest to allow for the next system to roll in for the weekend. And here we go, the multiple waves that energy drops in off the Rockies, and there's energy that comes in also from the Gulf, kind of meeting up, and it kind of just rounds the base here. And this is where you get some exciting wintry weather for areas between I-70 and I-40. And that's where the Euro continues to hint that a wintry mess is in the works. And this is what we've been talking about. This thing's been on the snowboard, I think, since I came back from the holiday. I think this system has been on the board because we've been seeing this signal for a while. I just don't think it's one storm. I think it may be multiple here because the pattern is going to get locked. So it'll allow for a few to kind of take advantage of that. But track is so important on this because the rain snow line, and really it should be a rain ice snow line. Yeah, ice is going to get involved. So where that all sets up, I don't know. Nobody knows. And we're not going to know probably until 24 hours out. Very last minute. So all we're doing is just giving you a heads up that this is possible. No stress on it, and we'll let you know because we may end up on the warmer side and be rain. But I have a feeling that we're going to end up with the good old-fashioned rain snow line going right to the heart of wave country, probably I-64, if I had to guess. And that's where we may run into a very complex forecast. Carson, by the way, is real excited to work on that for next weekend. He told me that. Exciting, right? Yes, exactly. Any other questions on that setup? Okay, so what about the long term? Well, that updated. Let me show you the matrix. Sorry. I always forget what I have in order here. Here's the matrix from Euro. All right, here's the snow tonight. Look what happened. I mean, this is, again, Euro is not very impressed with much happening. I mean, it has an active radar, but it's just accounting for so much melting that's lost here on this, so it's not impressive on the snow. All right, we get into the longer term, and you can see it just doesn't know. It doesn't know where to put what in what spot and how much. So not shocking, but it's still noisy. Hey, that's good. All right, it's good. Snow lovers. I mean, you still want to see an active signal. If it started fading away, that'd be a problem. You'd be like, oh no, but it's still there. It is still there. And here's the new one that takes us all the way to the beginning of March. Oh boy. And notice it is still a very active signal. I mean, this is impressive to see this as we evolve into even February. It's still given a high signal for wintry potential. In fact, looking at the temperature outlook, yeah, there could be a warming period the first 10 days, 8 days or so of February. We may warm, but overall, a colder pattern seems to get established again. close to Valentine's Day all the way through March. And that is going to allow things to remain interesting. More of the same, it looks like, guys, as far as weather drama. Okay, so let's get into the 10-day, show you that. Again, 44 today. We'll go with the alert day setup for tonight that we'll be tracking as we watch just the poor visibility and just the kind of mess, slushy kind of road setup. And then scattered snow showers for your Saturday, and then just cold for the rest of the holiday weekend. We'll monitor next week. Keep an eye on that system, see if that changes at all. Otherwise, we'll just bet on more of a wind scenario. And then next weekend, you see how things just get messy for next weekend there. Snow on Easter, don't know yet. Just wondering how the roads will be tonight in E-Town. I drive an hour home, so I just want to make sure it'll be safe. They will be either wet or slushy in E-Town, but I do not see, Zach, any indicator there that there's going to be ice on the roads. But slushy and kind of just wet. Visibility at times will be your biggest issue in driving. Just take it slow. There's going to be a lot of slow traffic because of this, and you really should slow down because it's hard to see. At night, snow at night is as I always say, it's a Star Wars hyperspace effect in front of your headlights. It's much more of a challenge to really see ahead of you and see the lines on the road, see what lane you're in. That's tough when you got like that, very dazzling appearance in front of the headlights. So that's what we mean by impacts on travel that we want to give you a heads up on. Okay. Snow on Valentine's Day. Jessica, it happens a lot. Hey, Laura, nice. It was nice to meet you and talk to you last night. Thank you for the comment. I hope you're doing well. Okay. I think everyone's good, right? Everyone's good. I mean, type 1 if you're good. If you're good. If you understand everything I rambled about, that will make me feel better. Because I don't want this to be overwhelming and complex. And I know there's a lot out there, especially if you're on social media. There's so many forecasts, so many, everyone's got their own opinion on forecasts. That's fair. I mean, that's what happens in the wintertime with meteorology, especially. It comes down to personal preference on models and experience of what has typically happened in their area. I get all that. It can be a lot. It can be overwhelming. I don't want to make that worse. We want to try to be as transparent as we can, clear of what's coming our way, the chances of one thing happening versus another, and just the general outlook. So that's real important to us. Okay. All right, guys. We'll leave it at that. And I'm going to be on midday, and I just please stay close to the forecast changes today as we see how this evolves into this evening. And obviously, if we get some snow squall issues, that we will be talking about it much more in depth. All right, guys, you're awesome. Appreciate you all. I will see you guys coming up on the flip side at 11 a.m. Take care, guys.